The Alabama Farmers Federation and the Alabama Farmers Cooperative proudly present Simply Southern with your hosts Jim Allen and Mary Johnson.
Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Mary Johnson.
And I'm Jim Allen. Coming up today on Simply Southern, we'll take you to a farm where they not only grow fresh vegetables, they also pickle and package them.
At any given time, we have about 25 varieties that we do. And so that's anything from sweet jams to pepper jellies and then an assortment of pickles. You can pickle all kinds of things.
We'll visit with a young man in Lee County who's juggling a college course load with a side job that's a little on the wild side.
We do petting zoos, we provide live nativity animals, we do pony rides for birthday parties, and mainly we provide our animals for corporate events, church events, and fall festivals.
Plus, Sidney Phelps of Bonnie Plants will tell you what to consider to pick the perfect onion for your garden.
But our first story takes us to Lauderdale County, where the worlds of art and ag are coming together to make something special out of that old country barn.
We thought it was a really good way to get town folks to drive out and see agriculture in rural Alabama.
What we eat, what we wear. It all starts somewhere. And if it's good, it usually starts with a farmer. And that somewhere is right here in Alabama. In a field, in a barn, on a tractor. Right now, there's a farmer starting something good for all of us. And it all starts right here in Alabama.
There's no such thing as downtime when you own a farm. This is your land. You tend it and try to get the most from it, no matter the weather or time of day. It's been that way for generations. And for generations, your local quality co-op store has been there for you, with a full range of agriculture supplies and services, from feed to fertilizer, seed to grain storage, and the right hardware for any application. You'll always find what you need, plus friendly, knowledgeable advice at your local quality co-op store. There's one near you.
Have you ever hopped off the interstate a while and just slowed down for a leisurely drive through the countryside? You can just see that old barn sitting by the side of the road now, can't you? Well, if you were up in the foothills of Tennessee or Kentucky, you might notice something colorful perched on those wooden walls. This week, we visit a group of volunteer artists who are hoping to bring the barn quilt craze to a farm near you. Lisa and Dale Robinson are a special couple of quilters. While they didn't have anything to do with this lovely family heirloom here, they proudly claim the barn quilt it inspired. Although you'll run into these colorful decorations more in northern states, they're a less common sight here in Alabama. But quilting enthusiast and traveling nurse Regina Painter hopes to change that.
A few years ago, I went to a quilt show in Tennessee with some friends. We were passing in the countryside and saw a barn there that had a mariner's compass, which is a traditional quilt block on it. I saw that. We were in an area where there were 2 or 3 more blocks on barns, and I fell in love with them.
With the goal of creating a barn quilt trail in Lauderdale County, Regina partnered with her County Farmers Federation and Alabama Northwest Resource Conservation and Development to get the project off the ground.
We thought it was a really good way to introduce not only agriculture to the rural communities, but to get town folks to drive out and hopefully see agriculture in rural Alabama.
In December of 2015, we got our first block hung in Killen, Alabama. Through the assistance of UNA. I had talked to them about finding an art student there. We now have 11 blocks up and loving the project, hoping people are coming out and seeing it.
The barn quilts will hopefully attract folks looking for an excuse to get away from the hectic pace of the interstates and out into the countryside. Now, any farmer will tell you that looks aren't everything when it comes to a barn. But when you're trying to draw eyes to the world of agriculture, you've got to have a good canvas to work with.
We like the older barns, the wooden barn if we can. We want to see one that's visible from the road so that anybody that wants to come by can stop and take pictures and see the actual block from the road.
Barn owners in Lauderdale County have been enthusiastic about the project. with some even providing their own family quilts for the design. For others, the barn quilts often tell a story about the farm itself.
My great-granddad bought this farm in 1933, and my dad is the third generation. I'm the fourth. My kids are the fifth, and my grandkids running around here will be the sixth generation on this farm. My dad has lived on this farm his whole life, and he's raised cattle. And one of the things we wanted all is to have a cow in the picture. Then my wife and my daughter picked out the colors and the other pattern to go with it. I thought they did a real good job.
In the months since their barn quilt went up, the Lovelaces have noticed cars slowing down and even stopping to take pictures. Music to the ears of the folks with the trail, who hope their own enthusiasm for these colorful blocks will one day spread across the state.
Hopefully we're just hoping to go throughout the entire state, but right now we're trying to stay, just as close as we can until we can branch out and get just a little bit more help, because we definitely need some more volunteers.
We don't want anybody to be intimidated by what we're doing, because it's really very easy. If my husband can draw it out, then I can fill it in. And it's just picking out colors, and it's a lot of fun.
Among the many agritourism efforts in our state, a barn quilt seems pretty simple. They do make for a beautiful touch on a Sunday drive, but as with many things, maybe it's as much about the journey as the destination.
I think one of the beauties of it is that it gives me a reason to go across the country without going on the interstate. I go out in the countryside, I find a farmer's market, I see things that I would not have seen had I stayed to the main busy thoroughfare.
I think it relates back to maybe their family history, grandmother quilting. If they can drive by and see these on barns, then it maybe get them talking about their past, about their generations of what's been before us.
The folks with the trail are always in need of volunteers. So if you're wanting to try your hand at some large-scale quilting or just looking for information on how to get your area involved, visit the Alabama Barn Quilt Trail on Facebook.
This started in Ohio with a woman who wanted to honor the memory of her mother, who was a quilter, and it's spread to a lot of places. Growing up in Kentucky, I remember seeing those quilt squares on barns all over the place.
Well, hopefully we'll have them all over Alabama before it's over with.
Hopefully so. That would be cool. Coming up next on Simply Southern, have zoo, will travel. That's the motto of an aspiring vet student who owned his personal menagerie since before he could drive.
How do you show love? With the big things? The little things? The tough things? Your everything. Show them you care. Alpha Insurance.
Support healthy food from local farmers by purchasing a Farming Feeds Alabama license plate. The tag funds education and promotion efforts, including Ag in the Classroom, agricultural scholarships, and youth programs. Get your Ag tag today.
Alabama soybean farmers help fuel the state's economy. Soybeans are used to make clean, renewable biodiesel and are a key ingredient in feed for poultry, catfish, and livestock. Soybeans are used in dozens of products we use every day. But best of all, soybean farmers generate $258 million and more than 4,000 jobs for Alabama's economy, all while helping conserve our natural resources. Explore the power of soy.
Farmer Brown deals in some interesting livestock. Camels, zebras, llamas, and alpacas are just some of the residents keeping the cows company in his grandfather's pastures. You see, Farmer Brown isn't exactly a farmer, and his name isn't really Brown. He's a college student at Auburn, and since he was 13 years old, he's found a pretty interesting way to spend his free time.
The Garden in the Park Art Festival is an annual springtime favorite in Opelika. And what's an art festival without a camel? Well, arts and crafts may hold the attention of mom and dad, but when there are kids to entertain, you've got to call in the party animals.
Farmer Brown's Party Animals is a petting zoo business out of Auburn, Alabama. We do mainly off-site petting zoos. We do petting zoos. We provide live nativity animals. We do pony rides for birthday parties, and mainly we provide our animals for corporate events, church events, and fall festivals.
While other teenage boys were splitting time between sports and their PlayStations, Patrick was already channeling his love of exotic animals into something more.
I'm not a big, gamer or TV person, so I would just read online about all these different kinds of animals. So, a lot of people ask me, how do you know about these animals and how to take care of them? And honestly, I knew about that whenever I was 14 and 15. So, though I didn't have them right then, I knew how to take care of them.
3 llamas would eventually call Patrick's backyard home, and it didn't take long before local curiosity led to a blossoming business venture.
Everybody would always ask about them. People would ask me to take them places. That was in, I guess, March of 2009, and in May we had our first birthday party, which was actually at my grandmother's house. I had to go and grab 2 goats from some family farms, just go grab them out of the field the night before and go grab some chickens. It was just kind of thrown together. We got the first camel in 2010, so just a year after we started. Then we've just kind of traded out animals. The kangaroos we first got in, I believe, 2012, and then I also had a baby kangaroo that I took to my school every day. Don't know if the principal still knows about that.
Whether it's camels and horses or cute fuzzy bunnies, children and children at heart love any chance to touch something new. But Patrick's mission is just as much about education as it is entertainment.
I really like to push the information side of this business. I think there's a ton of information that the average person doesn't know. I mean, I can't tell you how many times that somebody's come up and asked me if a camel was an emu or something like that. And those are just 2, totally different animals. One's a bird and one's a mammal. The petting zoo really isn't valuable unless you're, enriching the lives of a child and also, pushing the information side so that they do actually learn.
And children aren't the only ones learning. Caring for the health and welfare of these exotic animals can be a challenge. So Patrick is broadening his own horizons. Now a student at Auburn University, he has less time to put on his Farmer Brown hat than he used to, but he's hopeful the hours in the classroom will ultimately pay off all around.
My plan is to go to vet school after I've got 2 more years of undergrad, and so it kind of helps, I hope, with the accepting process. I think there's a lot of opportunity with exotic animal medicine. There's a lot of unknowns. I know that I've dealt with a lot of those already in the last years that I've done this. I want to go to vet school just to learn about the unknowns and be able to figure that out, but not necessarily maybe have a private practice for the rest of my life. I want to do something different with that degree.
So while there may not be a future Dr. Brown to cure your sick party animals, a petting zoo may only be the start for Patrick. He's got some pretty big dreams.
One of my favorite, quotes is from Walt Disney. It says, "If you can dream it, you can do it." And I really think that I could make a theme park, maybe not in Auburn, maybe not in Alabama, but somewhere around here that would really capitalize on the animal experience. So it will be totally different from zoos, and it will be pretty interactive. So that's the long-term plan. Don't know when that's going to happen. I'll keep you updated, but that's the plan right now.
For Simply Southern, I'm Samantha Carpenter.
If you need some party animals to liven up your big event, Farmer Brown has got a website for you. Check them out at fbpartyanimals.com.
Now, Patrick's sister is his main helper, but his parents help him at the events, and his grandfather lets him keep the animals on his place.
Yes, it's Patrick's business, but it's truly a family affair.
Really nice.
Coming up on Simply Southern, 10 years ago, she knew nothing about farming. Today, Beth Hornsby is being honored for the way she and her husband operate their farm. You'll meet her next.
One out of 4 Alabama residents have benefited from the Alabama Cooperative Extension System. Last year, Master Gardener Managed Gardens donated $150,000 worth of fruits and vegetables to food banks, and over 25,000 young people developed math, science, technology, and engineering skills through 4-H. Now what we want to know is, how can we help you?
Support healthy food from local farmers by purchasing a Farming Feeds Alabama license plate. The tag funds education and promotion efforts, including Ag in the Classroom, agricultural scholarships, and youth programs. Get your Ag tag today.
Alabama wheat and feed grain farmers grow food, fuel, and freedom. Their harvest helps feed Alabama's multi-million-dollar livestock, catfish, and poultry industries while reducing America's dependence on foreign countries for energy and food. By combining their strength with farmers of other commodities, feed grain growers are fueling the economic growth of Alabama communities.
Nothing brings the family together like U.S. farm-raised catfish. American catfish farmers are dedicated to producing a premium, healthy catfish with a consistently mild, sweet flavor. Because we take as much pride in our work as you do in your cooking. From our family farms to your family's table, you can be sure you're getting the highest quality fish. Because your family deserves the best. U.S. farm-raised catfish.
Each year, the Alabama Farmers Federation recognizes young families who are doing a great job on their farms and in their communities. Today, we're going to meet the first of 3 finalists for the Outstanding Young Farm Family Award. Kevin Worthington introduces us to the Hornsby family of Lee County.
Lee County farmer Beth Hornsby's mark on her community is noticeable. You'll find Hornsby Farms jams, jellies, pickles, and fresh produce on a number of restaurant menus. Weekly produce deliveries serve community members, and the farm hosts tours and workshops. Beth says her family benefits from and helps others using the very ground her husband's family tilled for generations.
Josh and I started a little backyard garden when we got married. It was something he had always grown up with, having big fields of peas and corn and things like that. And so he really instilled that passion for me to be able to start a small garden. Every year our garden and our family grew.
What started as a 100 square foot annual garden turned into 20 acres of fruits and vegetables as the Hornsbys became full-time farmers in November 2013. Beth experienced a steep learning curve, and she admits the extent of her agricultural background was watching her grandparents' garden.
When I went to school, went to college, I had no desire for agriculture. I didn't even know hardly anything about agriculture. So coming from that background and then now having a successful farm for the past 4 years has been really neat and eye-opening. I've learned a lot, made a lot of mistakes along the way, but they've only made me a better farmer.
Hornsby Farms produce runs the gamut from squash to heirloom tomatoes to corn, hot peppers, and watermelons. And that's just a piece of summer's bounty. Fall produce includes cool season vegetables like broccoli, asparagus, and collards. A hoop house supplements crops grown on irrigated plasticulture. Eggs, zinnias, and as of October, heritage pork are also Hornsby Farms products. But their real breadwinner is their line of jams, jellies, and pickles.
At any given time, we have about 25 varieties that we do, and so that's anything from sweet jams to pepper jellies, and then an assortment of pickles. You can pickle all kinds of things.
Several years ago, Beth's husband Josh built a barn, complete with a commercial canning kitchen for their then fledgling business.
I grew up watching my grandmother can, had no idea how to do it. Wasn't something that I thought was important back then, and I really value that connection with my grandmother. And so my husband and his mother taught me how to can, and I've been doing it ever since and love it. And it's been an integral part of our farm and what makes our farm work.
Hornsby Farms products are shipped throughout the country and even overseas to help spread the truth about where food comes from.
The canning side has been really neat. People don't realize, we have some people that didn't know that cucumbers made pickles. It opens up that line of communication. It really helps us to dig in the dirt and be out in the field.
Last fall, Beth founded Nourish, a nonprofit providing produce to food insecure families. She also works with the local tourism bureau and art associations to promote Alabama agriculture. But her biggest impact may just be with her children. 7-year-old Sully, 4-year-old Levi, and 17-month-old Stella, who are learning social and hands-on skills on the farm.
The things that were really important 50 and 60 years ago are starting to come back around, and our kids are learning what hard work means and how to start something from nothing. It's just like planting a seed. You plant the seed and you tend it and you take care of it, and it grows into something great that you can nourish your body and feed those around you. So I think it's pretty neat for them to be able to see the full circle.
From Lee County, Outstanding Young Farm Family finalist Beth Hornsby with her husband Josh, and their children Sully, Levi, and Stella.
You can find out more about the Hornsbys on their website, hornsbyfarms.com.
And you can also get jams, jellies, and other products they produce that are really good.
Yes, they make a lot of great things over at Hornsby Farms. Our series continues next week with the Johnson family, who run a row crop operation near Fort Payne.
You like onions? When Simply Southern continues, Sidney Phelps from Bonnie Plants has some things to consider so that you can pick the perfect onion for your garden.
What sustains us? Food? Family? Faith. Alabama farmers live those things every day. They conserve our resources, clothe our families, and fill our tables. They cultivate jobs for our communities and values for our future. Farmers grow it all right here in Alabama.
There's nothing quite like sitting down to a home-cooked meal with fresh vegetables from the garden. With Bonnie Plants from your local quality co-op store, you can enjoy the freshest vegetables right from your own backyard. And no matter if you're a raised bed gardener, a rose gardener, or if you farm hundreds of acres, your quality co-op store has exactly what you need to get the most out of your plants. You'll always find what you need, plus friendly, knowledgeable advice at your local quality co-op store. There's one near you.
FFA makes a positive difference in the lives of students by developing their potential for premier leadership, personal growth, and career success through agricultural education.
We're strengthening American agriculture and providing our members with the skills needed to build healthy local communities, a strong nation, and a sustainable world.
We are the next generation of agriculture.
It's our turn now.
Let's show the world what we can achieve together.
We are FFA.
For more Simply Southern, be sure to follow us on social media. And while you're online, visit our website, simplysouthern.tv.net. Simply Southern will continue in a moment.
We believe a plant should be more than a plant. This one is. It's all you need for your garden to succeed because it's a Bonnie plant. It represents hundreds of varieties of Bonnie's quality veggies and herbs. But more, it's from generations of Bonnie people who are passionate about sharing their love of gardening with you. Look for this little Bonnie plant and a whole family of plants like it in your garden center. Bonnie Plants, so you'll know how to grow.
Hey folks, Sidney Phelps here with Bonnie Plants. Today I want to talk to you about onions. So when you go to your local supermarket and you go shopping and you see all that big display of produce of onions, and you've got like red onions, white onions that are as big as this or bigger than your fist, but when you try to garden at home with onions, they look more like this. Well, the reason for that is you're probably using the wrong style of onion. And there are many different onions that you can use. We have short day, we have neutral day, and we have long day. And the reason for that is that amount of daylight hours that we have determines on what the bulb size will be. So for us in Alabama, short day onions are definitely the way to go. You want to plant those sometime in early to mid-fall. So for us, our best timing is going to be mid-September to early October. But if you're unsure of that, you can always check with your local extension agent and they can give you a better advice as when the best time to put your onions in the ground will be. But most commonly for us in this area, when it comes to onions, you want to use with a standard red onion, much like this, or a Texas sweet white onion. So this is just your typical sweet onion that you see in most restaurants that you can get, or more commonly here in the Southeast, the famous Vidalia, Georgia onion, or the Georgia sweet, as Bonnie refers to it in our advertising. This is that yellow granix, got a lot of flavor, a little bit of spice to it. Now, when you're planting these, the key about it is you want to make sure that you're putting them in, like I said, early fall. You're not going to harvest these onions until sometime in September. And the reason for that is they're going to take about 110 to 115 days to hit maturity. Now, while you're working that in, you want to make sure that you've got plenty of nutrients and a very well drained soil that way the onion bulb can separate, build, and become larger, because if you're trying to compress it or using some kind of clay soil, it's not going to work and you're still going to end up with these small bundles of onions. Now, if you live in a different area, then you can work up to a different style onion. So let's talk about the daylight neutral style onions. This is going to be more of your candy onion. That's a smaller bulb with a lot of flavor, very, very sweet. They're going to take about 115 to 120 days to hit full maturity. But the thing about those is you're going to need to be somewhere right above that zone 7. You can grow them in zone 7 and below, or you can grow zone 7 and above. It's just going to determine how much daylight you've got. In the southeast, like I said, we're tendally going to stay to short day onions. Short day onions will grow in the northeast, in the northern part of the country, but they're not going to be as large. So if you're growing that somewhere else, don't expect something this size. Now, in the northern markets, you're going to see Walla Walla Sweet, Walla Walla Yellow. Those are long day onions, and those are onions that you've got to plant in the early spring, and you won't harvest until sometime in the mid to late summer. Now, the whole reason behind that is to make sure that the amount of daylight gets those bulbs, and with that, it allows it to develop, because without the development, you're not going to get anywhere, and you're still going to end up with this thing. The way you want to work that out is, like I said, make sure that you've got good soil, cooperate with your extension agent, and use our website, bonnieplants.com, to find the information to what will best work for you in this apparatus. Now, like I said, for all of our Alabamians, you want to look at a Texas White, a Georgia Sweet, or the traditional red onion that you can grow in your backyard with your family. If you have any other questions, you can check out the website at bonnieplants.com or use the app Homegrown with Bonnie Plants.
If you have a gardening question, Sidney would be glad to help you out. Just drop him an email at simplysouthern@alafarm.com and he may answer it on an upcoming show. You can also go to bonnieplants.com for gardening tips, recipes, and much more.
Thanks for being with us today, but we're out of time. Join us again next week when we'll follow the best domino players in the world to South Alabama to vie for the World Championship.
And we'll catch up with a group of teens who spent part of their summer preparing for a possible career in medicine. But before we go, here are links to some of the stories we featured today. I'm Mary Johnson.
And I'm Jim Allen. We'll see you back here again next week.
Simply Southern is a production of the Alabama Farmers Cooperative and the Alabama Farmers Federation.